A city should not fall in the middle of an ordinary afternoon. Not at 2:14 p.m, not in broad daylight, and not without a single warning. But on Tuesday, Birmingham did. One moment, life moved like any other weekday. Traffic humming, office doors opening, trains running on schedule. The next moment, an explosion tore through the Hole refugee facility and the entire city snapped into fear, confusion and silence. Not silence on the streets, silence from the people meant to protect them. While smoke filled the sky, while crowds surged, while rumours twisted into chaos, one question rose louder than any sin. How does a city collapse this fast? This is not the story shown on television. This is the story hidden between breaking headlines, viral clips, and the hours when the truth disappeared. The explosion at 2:14 p.m. was not the start of the crisis. It was the moment the pressure finally burst. For months, Birmingham had been struggling under the surface. Complaints filed but never answered. Small fights that ended before they began. Mistrust quietly growing between communities that once lived side by side. Nothing large enough to reach the news, but enough to create an invisible weight on the city. And on Tuesday, at 1:40 p.m, that weight shifted. A single message appeared on Telegram, only 9 words long, with no source and no explanation. Refugee group attacked locals near Hole facility. People didn't wait for verification. They didn't ask who posted it. They simply believed it. And within minutes, hundreds began gathering near the facility, pulled not by anger alone, but by fear, frustration, and every unanswered concern they carried for months. By 2 p.m, the number had grown to more than 1,000. Police tried to reach the area, but gridlocked roads trapped dozens of patrol vehicles across the city. Officers on foot attempted to create a barrier, but the crowd multiplied faster than they could react. When the metal barriers outside the facility collapsed under the pressure, bodies surged forward, falling, pushing, pulling back without space to breathe. In the confusion, someone lit several street bins on fire. Thick black smoke rose into the air, stretching across blocks and cutting through the afternoon sky like a warning flag. Phones came out instantly, lives were streamed within seconds. Platforms filled with fragments of chaos, screams, flames, scattered crowds, sirens echoing in the distance, and as always, the internet turned fragments into a story of its own. Birmingham is burning began trending worldwide in minutes. But the trending clips didn't show the parts that mattered. They didn't show how fast fear can twist a rumour into a crisis. At 2:26 p.m, the crowd reached the point where control stops existing. What began as shouting turned into physical clashes. People pushed because others pushed them. Fists flew because someone else threw one first. No one knew what they were fighting, only that everyone else looked like a threat. Police shields formed a line, but it was thin, fragile and unprepared for the sheer force of panic. Reinforcement units tried to move in, but roads were blocked by abandoned cars left at angles across junctions. Under the Aston Expressway, the situation grew darker. 3 groups, none coordinated, crashed into each other. One group opposed immigration, one group believed the rumour from Telegram. And another, dressed in black with covered faces and improvised shields, whose origin no one could identify. There was no discussion, no warning, only impact. Metal pipes slammed into shields. Stones flew from invisible hands. A flare lit up the underside of the motorway in a sinister red glow. Drivers above slowed down to record the violence unfolding under their wheels, their videos spreading faster than the police could respond. Then at 2:41 p.m, fear turned into full panic. A white delivery lorry tried to escape the area, but when the driver panicked and clipped a divider, the vehicle flipped onto its side with a screech that echoed through the district. Steam burst upward, creating a dense cloud around the wreck. Someone shouted a single word, "Bomb!" And that was enough. People ran without knowing why. Cyclists crashed to the ground. Barriers fell. Parents clutched children, while strangers shoved past them in desperation to escape a danger that didn't exist. The lorry never exploded, but the fear did. And fear spreads faster than fire. By 3 p.m, Birmingham was no longer one crisis. It was many. Snow Hill, Ball Street, New Street, Corporation Street, and 5 Ways metro stations shut down within minutes. Thousands of commuters were trapped underground, cut off from understanding what was happening above. When emergency exits finally opened, they stepped into streets already crowded with frightened people running from different directions, each carrying a piece of misinformation, each convinced they knew the truth. Above ground, abandoned buses leaned across intersections. Delivery vans stood with doors wide open. Cars reversed on one-way streets in blind attempts to flee. No one agreed on what was real, and that made everything feel like a threat. Across social media, a new wave of rumours swallowed the truth. A single false post claiming refugee groups were marching toward the city centre spread 40,000 times in 15 minutes. People believed it because the internet gave them nothing else. Police reinforcements arrived at 2:55 p.m, pushing through traffic on foot, shields raised, moving in formation, but their arrival confused the crowd even more. Some thought the police were preparing to attack. Others believed they were retreating. Every step the officers took was misinterpreted, feeding the panic already spiralling out of control. At 3:04 p.m, the police authorised contain and hold tactics, an emergency measure used only when a crowd becomes too unpredictable to manage. But by then, containment was impossible. Too many people didn't know what they were running from. Too many others believed they were running for their lives. And in the middle of the chaos, a small incident twisted into a massive misunderstanding. A hobbyist drone filming from above was hit by a bottle, spiraled downward, and crashed into a parked car in a burst of broken plastic. But when it fell, someone shouted that it was an attack from above. The rumour spread faster than the smoke rising from the fires. Phones buzzed with warnings of armed groups, facility breakouts, and extremists planning to storm the city centre. None of it was true, but truth had lost its voice hours ago.